Space Corps, 1%. Written by Zachary Cooper, developed for Lit2 Animate. 1.
In the boundless expanse of the cosmos, legends aren't found. They are forged. From blueprint to battle, customize your character and unique ship designed by you, just for you. Your custom character, your own custom ship, part by part, weapons and energy shields from thousands of options. Forge your station to port your ship and defend it against the saviors or scum of the universe. Support your faction in player versus player and player versus environment space fighting, in person or on ship. Develop your ship and station to weave the destiny of civilizations. Join your friends in TechCore 2525, the vast MMORPG with thousands of customizable options at your fingertips. Use your imagination to construct your future. Dozens of sectors to scope, hundreds of planets to find, and do with as you please. Save them or conquer them, but neither are simple things. Every decision crafts your legacy, every alliance, a step towards galactic saving or dominance against its own planet or other players. Forge your destiny among the stars. Join the revolution. Game developed by Drift Dynamics. Head adapter compatible. Play now at techcore2525.com.
11 hours, 22 minutes, the longest clock time Xavier has had on this game since leaving for college. A quick pizza to start the weekend breakfast, donuts, chips, and energy drinks sitting next to him, keeping going on the resource grind. He nukes some leftover Chinese food after this next asteroid. A few million more batches of titanium, and his faction will be able to take on one of the strongest stations in this galaxy, until the game company updates the DLC to make something stronger. TechCore 2525, the newest MMORPG in the market, not as immersive as some, but it is still pleasantly addictive for millions around the world. Just 3 more untouched asteroids orbiting this planet his faction recently mapped, and they'd be able to upgrade the shielding on their main battleship. Plugging the CPU into their head adapters decreases the lag 20% for users. According to the company advertisements and the general consensus from customers, is worth it and practically required by some higher end-game factions. Other games have more weapon immersion, tiny effects of damage on imagined numbing of skin. Those scared simps who don't plug in are seconds late to a battle for faction supremacy in PvP or PvE, and so few factions allow that these days. Xavier doesn't usually like flashy games, they sometimes give him a headache, but when plugging in, some of the battles are less intense than they are on a screen. You think that they would be more intense, but being able to change the view helps. Losing your ship in battle sent vibrations down your spine, but that was only in the earlier models. The gaming company was getting a talking to. Corporate fines of a tiny percentage mainly, so they ended those versions and updated them. One firmware update, and the fines were dropped. There are some purposely hacked to block firmware updates and sold on social media to keep the immersion. Some say it was weak to play without it. At least that was the reseller's selling point, to try to actually make some money these days. Scum of the country as far as he is concerned. If you weren't going to tech school to repair robots, there wasn't much else to do these days for a job, unless you qualified to join the military complex. Plugging in the adapter to the head port, changing views between walking character, ship, or station external view, and customized settings takes some getting used to, but it doesn't take long, especially with no distractions.
Look who found me a new mining spawn. Gotta tell everyone. Can't wait!
His nemesis, with the creative handle Albert69, surprises him, shooting the asteroid, and breaking it away from the mining, weakly damaging his gear, which takes a few seconds to repair outside of a fight. To Xavier, it was probably some 12-year-old in his parents' basement, streaming gameplay, making more money than Xavier ever will as an engineer. His voice sure sounded like it. Since they were on rival factions, it was a race to see who could take on the most powerful station first. That was called Phase Alpha. Xavier's faction didn't know how close theirs was to what they needed, but he wanted to be in the first faction to take it down, as far as they could tell between the server factions. Same-sector ships could either speak to communicate quickly, or could type out in a general post to the sector that they were in. He called out from his ship.
Al, you weak ass, I have my faction much closer. We've been mining here for days. You get your lame ship out of here, or we'll blast you back to your territory.
This was punctuated by 3 of his faction buddies, flying from around the planet close by, to his rescue. This was just after Xavier posted in the faction chat for backup, but the others don't hesitate. As soon as they are in range, they target the enemy ship and ruin his day, blowing his ship apart. He would have to spend on fuel and repairs to make it back to the sector. It would take him a while, though, and no ships were on this side of the universe yet. With a quick word to the crew,
Thanks, guys. He's been messing with me for weeks, and he keeps seeming to be able to find me.
Xavier gets the reply back. Might as well not have given him the option. He would have been back quick enough anyway. Let's just clear these asteroids before he gets too much backup. Not long after that, Xavier sends out a faction communication through their secured frequency, which is basically just a guild chat. 4 members in Sector 26D, likely getting some company soon. If 2 or more can come around and do whatever to protect our mining for now, we'd be able to bring these resources in for the upgrade. After the backup is on the way, and the drone ships for the faction are dispatched for support, Xavier set the auto repair in for the mining gear, and within seconds was back on the grind. Not long later, Albert 69 was back with his faction attackers, 20 of their ships dropping out of light speed. One calls out in the close sector.
This is now the titanium resources of the industrial suns. You have been warned.
They opened fire within seconds, ruining the shielding of the player ships and wrecking the added 10 drone ships for added protection. Since he was in his mining ship, like the rest, he was torn apart, shot by shot. Xavier was in the waiting spawn time before he could get back on screen to let the attack be known. It was a PvP factor that prevented easy retaliation. As soon as he was able to fly back in, he checks to see if the problem is known, and it is. The faction was gearing up for the battle. Switching to his battleship, he joins the talks about the issue. It was asked by faction leads if we struck first, and we told them sure we defended our mining resources. Good enough for everyone else, we all made sure the weaponry was repaired and charged to get moving. Eyes closed, Xavier drifts through starlight on the flight over. The game's synthetic voice whispers mission data and communications through the head adapter, threading between his thoughts like wind through a cracked window. He didn't need the screen. No one does when plugged in. With his ship docked in the faction's battlecruiser, he didn't have to waste his own ship power to get there. The jolt of battle surged through him. He feels like it must be about the same as the bloodlust of old battles, except obviously more civilized. He could feel the ship like it was part of him. He flexes his fingers, ready to defend what the faction needs. The whole faction of nearly 70 ships comes into view as Xavier joins the rest. Another 30 had joined with the enemy faction, with another 30 drones, but Xavier's had a reserve of 80 drones to keep them busy. Another call out in the sector, there were settings in the game where there is a spokesperson in groups more than 5, and ours was a team lead. Voidspire, the lead on Xavier's side, says, "This is the mining territory of the Crimson Verge. Get out and stay out." Xavier's fingers grip the computer chair in anticipation, but the movement feels numb, even wrong. A small headache forms above his nose. The arm numbness increases to goosebumps, like someone is next to him, running their fingernails along them. A sharp static rings in his skull as the firing starts, and faction comms are going crazy regarding the fight.
Guys, I'm not feeling so good.
Xavier's comment is drained out by the dozens of other speakers, discussing the crushing they are giving to the Suns. He winces, squeezing his eyes tighter, even though his eyes are already closed. The adapter buzzes at his neck, a low tremor in his jaw. He opens his eyes to see the ceiling in his studio apartment. His stomach growls, sharp and empty. The white bumps on the popcorn ceiling have a mix of black and green tinge to it, a terrible feeling like it comes from some of the explosions in the battle. He turns his head to see the half-eaten donuts and warm soda sitting inches from his hand on the shaky fold-out desk from his right hand. Even that is too far. His fingers twitch and grip the chair harder, but don't answer his need. Why aren't they moving? The static turns to thunder behind his eyes. Was the game doing this? He wants to reach back and unplug to call out, but the thought crumbles as his limbs lock and the sound inside his head grows violent, unbearable. His jaw clenches, his back arches. A flash of nausea rumbles through his empty stomach. That was strange. He was pretty sure he ate something recently. He doesn't know what was happening. A mix of fear and distant wrongness. Like falling into water with no surface above, then silence. The game keeps on running. One last thing runs through his head. Emergency, he says. The game pauses on the side of his head. He doesn't know what was happening. A mix of fear and distant wrongness. Like falling into water with no surface above, then silence. The game keeps on running. One last thing runs through his head. Emergency, he is able to mumble out. The game pauses on the side of his head.
Player, you have indicated that you are having an emergency. Authorities will be notified within 5 seconds if you do not cancel. Your ship will not be saved in combat. 4, 3, 2.
His breathing slows, muscles slack. He lays back, slumped in a chair, his eyes shut. The ghost of food inches away that he knows can possibly save him. Surrounded by junk food he can't reach, hunger gnawing at him like a memory. His eyes, so heavy, he has trouble opening them again. Maybe if he could sleep off whatever is going on, the game will end automatically, and he can sleep off this headache.